All right, it is 6 o'clock, so I will go ahead and call our meeting to order. So we are here tonight for the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee monthly meeting, April 28th, 2025. My name is Jamie Shopland. I am the chair of the committee, and we'll get started with some opening remarks. I do expect a few more members to file in. We will not have enough members to conduct any motions or votes this evening because we don't expect to have a quorum. So just bear that in mind if you're looking to conduct any business this evening. So in terms of chair remarks, I did want to let the members know that since the March meeting, we did have 2 members resign. So Kara Phillips and Patty Comans have both submitted their resignations. The membership application is open and continues to be open through May 15th, and that is posted on our website. It did go out through School Messenger, so if you know folks that you would recommend, there is still time to apply. We have gone through, just to share a quick update, a round of reviewing all of the applications that have been submitted and have leveraged the scoring rubric this time around to apply some uniform criteria in the selection process, and we have a subset of those candidates that we're going to be scheduling just 20-minute informational interviews so they can get to know a little bit more about the committee before moving forward with recommending their membership be accepted. We do have 2 guest speakers this evening, which is a little different than what we normally do. So we will have limited time for any subcommittee readouts and other conversations. With us, we have Erin Gambrell with she's the Youth Services Coordinator with Frederick County Public Libraries. We also have PGC, or Public Consulting Group. They're going to be sharing with us information around the online IEP Ed Plan and doing a demo, I believe, which is super exciting because Tara, who's on her way, did participate in the RFP process that selected this vendor for this activity. And I also wanted to just share a couple of updates around the budget. So there was on April 15th, County Executive Fitzwater did share some highlights around the budget related to education. So over $508 million allocated to public education, and that's about a 30% increase in the last 3 years. On the 23rd of April, the BOE also presented some information on the budget, and what was really neat about that is there was a reference to special education as an area of focus that is valued beyond the blueprint. So that was a really nice messaging to hear, especially given the folks that we support across the county. So. Yes. Also wanted to make sure everybody was aware that there was our state attorney general did join with several other states, 16 or so other states. There is a questioning around funding from the federal government, and if there is a focus on DEI, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, that there may be some cause for withholding federal funds. So Attorney General Brown joined other states to challenge that withholding of state funds. I wanted to bring that up because inclusive practices and inclusivity is one of the things that we are very concerned with and very passionate about given the population that we serve. There's information out there around that if you want to follow along. Also wanted to share some information around the observances for this month. So it is Mental Health Awareness Month, Better Hearing and Speech Month, Ehlers-Danlos Awareness Month, Williams Syndrome Awareness Month, Global Development Day, that's May 1st, Developmental Delay Day rather, and then Kriti Awareness Week, that's the 5th through the 12th. Those are coming up in the month of May. And we do have more information around those on the CCAT calendar. We posted that information. Also want to let you know that we did have our monthly connect with our special education leadership team. So that was this past Friday. We talked a little bit about some key strategic focus areas that CCAC can support in the next round of recommendations to the Board of Education. So topics around inclusive practices, where we can potentially help promote the parent involvement survey and increasing the response rate around that. We get favorable responses, but we don't get enough people responding, and we want to make sure that that's reaching families because that's a critical feedback loop. And then also focusing on a continuum of services and sports. So those are some of the things that we'll be bringing to the retreat that will be held on May 10th at the Tatum Arts Center at Hood College from 10 to 2, and we will have some of our special education leadership team members there at different parts throughout the day based on their availability. And CCAC is also participating in what's called World of Possibilities Disabilities Expo, which draws over 2,000 people from around the state, and it's being held at the Clarion Inn here in Frederick, and the events committee has procured a free way for us to participate in that, which is exciting, and I think Tara's heading that up so that we can have a presence there. We also have settled on the SY 25-26 meeting dates, so we'll get those circulated around. We did share those with with FCPS, that those can get posted, and so y'all, if you're continuing on as a CCAC member, can save those dates for the next school year. And that should conclude all of the chair updates. We cannot approve our minutes this evening because we do not have a quorum, so we will move ahead to our first guest speaker, which is Erin, Frederick County Public Libraries. So we'll get your presentation pulled up.
Awesome, thank you.
And if you just want to let me, do you want the clicker to advance yourself?
Sure, actually, yeah.
Pass that around.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I actually don't remember how I learned about you all, but when I did, I was like, oh, let me come and talk to you guys. So, you know, most of what I'm covering today is available on our website, and I also brought our quarterly library magazine. All of our calendar of events and everything are online, so we can be as up to date as possible. But there's a lot of really great info that will be shared in my presentation that's available in here. And then I also have some student success card bookmarks, and we'll go over what that is. So do you have a library card? Hopefully the answer is yes, but if your student does not, they actually do. We have something called a student success card, which is a partnership agreement that FCPL and FCPS have. We renew it every 2 years, and it's an information sharing between your systems, basically, and our systems. So any FCPS student who has a student ID number automatically has an FCPL library card. It's a little bit limited. It doesn't have the full access that a regular library card has, but they can check up to 10 print books at a time, and then they can also use all of the online resources that I'm going to cover today. And it's basically that prefix there, followed by their student ID number. So, and then I believe, and this is on the website as well in our catalog, I believe their last name is their password. But I just wanted to remind you all of that. So if you go to our website, we do have a student resources all-inclusive kind of thing. So if you go to our Learn tab, everything that I'm covering today is available there. So just a few things that I want to point out, and I'm seeing that my PowerPoint translated terribly to saving it and sending it. But BookFlix is something that's really exciting. It's very visual. It's there's a lot of access, so visual, audio. It's very interactive. You can make the screen bigger. You can repeat words, things like that. And so I just wanted to point out that with your library card, you have access to all of these things, you and your students. So these are mostly for younger, kind of early readers or reluctant readers. But as we know with some of those early readers, they can create a lot of confidence in even older kids as well. So BookFlix is one of the tools that we have. And we also have TrueFlix, which is basically the nonfiction version of BookFlix. There is a specific publisher called TrueFlix, and so I just pulled out the states. But you see on the left there, just a sampling. It scrolls down more, but about some of the content area that if they have to do any kind of research or they're just interested, this is a really accessible way, again, for them to kind of play with our collection. We also have access to National Geographic Kids. Again, this is just a screenshot from when you first kind of enter that portal. And again, really all you need is your library card. You don't have to put any kind of information in, just that number and that password. And then this is also interactive, really relevant, really up to date. National Geographic is incredibly credible and world-renowned, so a lot of really great info here. And then BrainFuse. So this and student success cards are kind of the thing that I'm like preachy about. I want most people to know about these. FCPS, I think, used to have access to an online tutoring service. And I don't think that you all do, or maybe it's school by school now. But we have access to BrainFuse, which is a really, really robust tutoring service, both for kids in elementary, secondary, and adults. We also have some job-seeking tools as well. But BrainFuse, there is live tutoring available in both English and Spanish between 2 p.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard. So that's an example of synchronous learning, so that they can actually chat with a live tutor and get some help that way. But they also have asynchronous learning, so they have practice standardized tests, they have lesson plans, they have just things that you can kind of explore. It's really, again, it's like this tutor online. So I just really wanted to let you guys all know, because this is your tax dollars pay for this, so please use it. And then Mango is our learning language tool. So Mango is comparable to Rosetta Stone and Duolingo. I will actually say, a few years, I've been in Maryland libraries for almost 20 years, and a few years ago we had access to Rosetta Stone. We lost our license for some reason. The state had lost their license with Mango, and so we tried Rosetta Stone, and I just did not like Rosetta Stone as much as I liked Mango. I don't know, what happened with the higher-ups as far as why we got Mango back, but I was incredibly happy to see Mango back. It's really intuitive, it's fun. If you and your students feel like just practicing and that you don't want to commit to learning a different language, there's actually a pirate, how to speak pirate tutorial. That's really fun to just get to know the portal. It's also really good for Pirate Day, which I think is in September. But I really try to push this, and it has really great breakdowns as far as, again, over 70 different languages, but also if you're traveling or there's a specific type of, you want, maybe Spanish for the classroom, there are ways to kind of break down to just look at those as well. So again, totally free. And this is also available on your iPad or your phone as an app as well. You just need your library card number. This is something that is kind of homegrown at each of our branches. I will say CBER and Thurmont right now are working on creating their new ones. We had created these pre-COVID as a way to introduce really anyone to their local library with what we're calling our social stories. But I know that in that time, Thurmont and CBER have changed some of their decor. So I think they're in the process of taking new photos and making new ones. But if you have a branch that is close to you, we do have 9 branches. Feel free to ask a children's librarian if you can see their social stories. It's really in just a Word doc that they give our partners or families or anyone that would like some kind of like a tour, but to take home and kind of really understand what the library is about. So this is just a sample. I think this is Walkersville that I took of the Word doc that they created. And you can see the language is very simple, very accessible, and we have translated it into Spanish as well. So just kind of creating that comfort zone to make people feel extra welcome when they're coming in. And then programs. So we have, all of our programs are free. All of them are, we try to make them as often and as accessible as possible. But I just wanted to show you on our website kind of where to find them. Again, this is on our website on your desktop, but also it looks really good on your phone or iPad. It translates really well to a mobile device as well. So our calendar is up to date, to the minute, is under that Participate tab. And what it looks like is this. And I just wanted to point out the keyword search function. I used the word sensory because that is a word that we tend to put in, when we're addressing an audience of maybe, like your family's kiddos that might be interested in some of these. The library system itself is still working through what language is appropriate for what, but I also want to give all of you the caveat that every kid is welcome at every program. So while we do have, for instance, that May 7th Autism and Sensory Friendly Storytime at Seaver Arts, I really don't want anyone to get the impression that we only want kids, at that. Like, we want you and your family welcome at any of the programs that we offer. We just know that there is a need for that kind of direct focused programming for some of your families. So I just wanted to go on record with saying that. So I use the word sensory. That is not like the only word we use. That's just, one of them. And again, if you took that word away, you would see, all of our programs across all of our branches, and then on the left you can, categorize, by age, by program type. By that I mean, maybe there's an author visit, maybe there's a story time, maybe there's like a STEAM program, and of course by your branch, so whatever's local to you. Okay. I didn't take up all my time, but I just wanted to give you guys plenty of time for questions. I can also tell you a little bit about what I do. So my role as the Youth Services Coordinator is that I coordinate with the children's and teens services supervisors at each of the branches, and anything that they're doing that makes sense to do system-wide. I kind of have a bird's eye view from the system aspect to coordinate that and organize that and maybe promote it on a higher level. I also report out to the county, so I serve in county work groups. I've seen Sarah in a few of those. I report out to the state, so there are youth services coordinators at almost all of the county libraries in the state, and so we're always talking and trying to streamline as much as possible.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah.
Volunteering students?
So yeah, so that depends on the branch. We do have on our website a volunteer tab, or if you just search the site for volunteer, you'll see the page that comes up. Some branches have they're overrun with volunteers, so they might not be accepting them currently, and then some have an open call for volunteers. But yes, at any point, if there's ever interest in volunteering, summer is definitely the best time to search for that because there's just more out of school opportunity. But yes, for adult and teens, yeah.
Any other questions? Andrea?
Besides Brainfuse, do you have anything that with a specific focus on reading comprehension?
So we have, I was just thinking the one slide that I didn't make just because it was kind of like a list of links, is we do have access to all of the Gale databases. I'm trying to think if I have anything in it. As far as literacy, I'm not sure, but we do have Hoopla and Libby are our streaming ebooks and audiobooks, and a lot of those have, especially the ebook component, has a lot of tools that you can make it accessible. Like for instance, you can choose the dyslexia font for students who need that. You can make it really big. You can make the color like a sepia tone instead of a white because for vision or whatever. So there's a lot of tools with that. But that Bookflix is probably our best learning how to read tool. Yeah.
there's a great resource that the libraries also have. They have little tablets that are themed, and some are education themed, and some are education and character themed, with books and interactive activities and games. So instead of going out and downloading 100 things to try, you can check this tablet out, and it comes with everything on it. And you can get them by category. We used them a lot when my kids were small. It was an amazing resource for us.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because
They're really cool.
they're called launch pads. So if you were to look in the catalog for launch pad, I believe it's all one word. Yes, they're basically like preloaded games and books tablets, and they're from early readers and literally just like games up to like, you know, upper elementary kind of like science and stuff like that.
This is great.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Joanna.
Not so much a question, but I actually got my first. Me and my daughter went to first story.
Yay! Where do you guys go?
The one downtown.
Steeper Arts. Yeah.
And because we're technically new to the area,
Oh, yay.
so we're getting that whole. We have access to everything now. We don't have to get in a car or something.
Yeah.
We can just walk.
Yeah.
And it was such a beautiful experience. It was so cute.
I'm so
and
glad.
my daughter was very nervous coming in, and but then she saw everybody else having fun, so she did well. And
So glad.
so I'm so happy because that social time is so important right now.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's been important for a while.
Yeah.
But and also I wanted to say, I don't know who got the idea, but I saw I picked up one of these today, and I saw you guys you're opening up a new library.
Yes. So we don't have a date scheduled, but West Frederick, so over in that Hillcrest area, will be our 10th brick and mortar library. The latest step with that is that it technically belongs to the city, and the city just made an agreement with the county. The FCPL is a county agency to give over the land, and so I don't know when the digging will start or like when whatever, but the design and the planning and stuff. So so you will see some like community input sessions. Now that I know that this group exists, I will reach out to whoever the chair is at that time to give you guys that information. But yeah, we would love input from that community. And yeah, I partnered with Hillcrest Elementary last year to take a transit visit. I also partnered with Transit. If you haven't partnered with Transit, they're incredible. They'll do a lot. We got on a stop at Hillcrest Elementary and took it to Steeper Arts. It took us 45 minutes. 45 minutes of stops. So it was just really eye-opening to be like, okay, that community really, really needs an actual library. We do have bookmobiles. We have 2 bookmobiles. That schedule is in here, which I will leave easier for you all. Yeah. Yeah, we're really excited. So.
Thank you. For the programming, is there anything on the website that talks about accommodations or how to request accommodations if it's not?
Yes. So you can request an ASL interpreter. Like that's like I believe it's at the top of the calendar, and it might be in the descriptions as well of the actual program, whatever it is. And it's a pretty easy process. You just click on where that link is, and you fill out a form. We have ASL interpreters all the time. I think that's the only interpretation service that we offer, but I do know for most of the bread and butter programs are basically our story times. We have story times every day, multiple times a day at every branch. They have tried to make it as accessible as possible by, if they have a smart board, they will scan the pictures of the book and actually have it really big. They'll, sometimes, I think some of the branches will have a visual schedule of what the actual story time looks like. So we're always learning. So if you go to a program and you think of a way that it might be more accessible, we are absolutely, would love that feedback.
Yeah. And on that note, you have 3 experts here that could probably help with language on the site.
Yay, excellent.
So Dr. Beeman and our directors, Buckley and Keller, they are the go-to folks if you're looking for guidance on
Awesome.
how to message those things.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being
You
here
all.
this evening.
We'll leave these here.
Really appreciate it.
Hand this back to.
We're going to move on to our next presentation.
So before I pass it over to PCG folks, we actually have a 2-minute video that shows everything that the system is going to have. And then tonight, our wonderful PCG folks are actually going to help us really dive into what our parents are going to be accessing in the new ed plan, which is called Parent Connect. We're also going to learn about translation and then see a little bit of what progress reports will look like. But I'm first going to show you the video, and then I'll pass it over to Ed and Angela.
PCG is proud to introduce your new student case management and reporting platform, EdPlanMD, which is a customized solution for Frederick County. EdPlanMD showcases Frederick's commitment to facilitating improvement of services and outcomes for all children. Every educator knows no one learner is just like the other, but as they also know, great educators want to focus on instructional time with their students, not the paperwork that comes with the individual education program development. This platform was developed to eliminate duplicate data entry, streamline communication across educators, school-based teams, and families, and comply with Maryland COMAR standards. Educators will be provided with a secure and user-friendly system that will allow the documentation, management, and reporting of the special education eligibility process, individualized education programs, service plans, Section 504, functional behavior assessments, manifestation determination reviews, behavior improvement plans, and service documentation for Medicaid administration. All of this can be done from any device, supported by the highest levels of data security, compliance, and privacy standards. Student privacy is at the forefront, and EdPlanMD only allows users access to the information that pertains to their role. EdPlanMD will guide educators through each task with step-by-step instruction, customized lists, and rules of completion. Educators will be provided with insights into student progress and trends through an assortment of configurable compliance alerts and interactive data visualizations. Communication is streamlined to keep families informed of every step along the way. Documents can be shared and signed through our Connect Parent portal. Another feature is dynamic translation, which allows for translation to a parent's native language with a click of a button. This allows families to access content in their preferred language, ensuring that communication is clear and effective for all parties involved. By breaking down language barriers, EdPlanMD keeps families informed about their child's educational plan. Your PCG team is excited to embark on this journey with you. Together, we can ensure that every child receives the support they need to thrive. Welcome to EdPlanMD, where excellence in education begins with exceptional planning and collaboration.
I feel like I want to clap for some reason. I'm so excited.
So without further ado, I pass it over to Angela and Ed. Thank you.
Hi. So, thanks for having us. My name is Angela O'Connor. I'm part of the team at Public Consulting Group, as is Ed. He's going to be the driver behind the PowerPoint before he goes into some of the more technical demonstration. But wanted to make sure, Ed, you make a quick introduction.
Sure. Yeah, Ed Steenstra. I'm the lead technical business analyst on the project. So I've been working with Troy and his team on all the customizations that we're making. We have a base EdPlan product, but as you heard, EdPlanMD is that product, but customized for Maryland and specifically for Frederick County Public Schools. So really excited to be here, and thanks for having us.
So we do the sneak peek, and we have just a really quick agenda for you. Pretty self-explanatory in terms of, I'm going to give you just a quick overview of PCG, the project timeline, what we've been working on, and then again, as Troy mentioned, we're going to be going through the Connect Parent Portal, translation, progress reports, and if there's any questions, we can certainly answer any questions. So a little bit about us. We're a mission-driven firm that partners primarily with public sector organizations and public-serving institutions to improve outcomes for communities, schools, and students. So we were founded in 1986. We have a little over 2,000 employees, and we do work nationwide. What's highlighted here is just some of the statewide projects, but we do work and have done work in 49 states, as well as the District of Columbia. So as you can see from the second bullet, over 25%. So 1 in 4 IEPs nationwide are created in our EdPlan system. What is EdPlanMD? It is Fredericks County, specifically, web-based special education case management tool. It's replacing Maryland OIEP. And this was a solution that is built by PCG by special educators. So it's been built around 3 core principles: streamlining compliance, facilitating collaboration, and empowering educators. So in addition to IEP eligibility and case management, EdPlan will also offer everything you see up there from 504s, FBA, MDR, BIP, service plans, service documentation for Medicaid administration, everything you've been hearing throughout not only the video, but what's listed. And then, as I mentioned, what we're going to dive into today is, Connect, translation, and progress track. So, and last slide. This is something that Troy and his team have been working on us with since October of last year. So it is a completely customized solution. Not only does it meet Maryland's COMAR standards, but it meets the needs of Frederick County and the users that are going to be working within EdPlanMD. And I get to hand things over to Ed to get to show you kind of the meat and potatoes and the fun stuff of the system.
Sure. All right, so we're going to start by taking a look at the Connect Parent Portal. And this is, as Troy mentioned, the portal for parents or guardians to see any document that has been created in the system that they either have something to respond to, maybe like a signature or a question, or just a document for them to review. We're going to start by just taking a look at how parents will access the system. And you notice I say access and not log in. They won't need to remember a username and a password. All they'll have to do is they'll get like an email with an access code. I'm just going to walk you through the steps here. On the left side, you'll see when a new document is created, this is the type of email that the parent will see. So it's just saying there's a new document awaiting your review. And there's the hyperlink there that they can click. It's going to take them to the portal. On the right side, there's a translated version. So each parent will have their language set. And if their primary speaking language is something other than English, like Spanish, all their emails and all the communication and the entire Connect Parent Portal will be in that language. After this, they click on the hyperlink. It's going to take them to a multi-factor authentication page. So this is why they're not going to need to remember username or password. They're just going to use their phone number or email that we'll have on file from Troy's team. They'll click the way that they'd like to get that code, and they'll hit the big green button there. And then they'll get that second correspondence. So if they choose an email, this is what that email is going to look like. It's going to have, this is from Frederick County Public Schools. Here's your access code. They type that access code into the previous screen that I just showed, and they're into the Connect Parent Portal. So hopefully really easy, streamlined, and you're not getting a bunch of calls about, well, I forgot my password, help me get in. That's the idea. From here, I'm going to just hop over and go over to the system. So, once parents are in the system, this is the landing page that they're going to see. So you can see at the top, we landed on the To-Do tab. So the to-do list for the parents is going to be any document that they need to respond to or a document that's been flagged for their review. So you can see this particular parent, and this is all test students and test parents and test data. But for this one, for this example, we have a notification of meeting that needs to be signed, and we have an IEP that also needs to be signed. And then we have a progress report for their review. So to give a quick demonstration of what they will do, they'll click on this pencil icon in the respond column. That's the notification of meeting. And they will see all the details about the document up here in the top left. On the right side, they will see the document. And first question is, can we zoom in on that? Yes, we can. So we'll zoom in there. Like I said, if the parent's language is set to something other than English, that document will be available in that language for them to review. And then on the left side here, they will, whatever Troy's team determines they need from the parent will appear here. So for the notification of meeting, they have a question to answer. will they be able to attend the meeting? And then they'll be asked for a signature. A very fancy signature there. And then they can click Sign Document. And that response will be recorded. That document was removed from the to-do list, as you can see, and then that signature is recorded in EdPlanMD. And the student's case manager has received an email notification that the parent has signed that document. So hopefully completely streamlined, there's no gaps in the system, and as easy as possible for the parents and guardians. The other tabs on the Connect Parent Portal, we're going to move over one to the right, which is the Completed Actions tab. So this is going to show, this will be a place for the parents to come to see what have I signed in the past, or what have what have my responses been in the past. So you can see the document that we just signed here tonight is the first one listed there. So they can always come back to that and review it. This blue, you can see the notification of meeting is blue. That means it's a hyperlink. So if we click on that, it's going to open up the document for them to go back and review if they'd like to. But it's kind of just an action history for everything that they've done in the past. We'll move over one more to the right, which is our Service Info tab. So this is going to give just some very brief details on the students' special education information. So we have eligibility dates, we have IEP dates, we have their disability, and then we have their services. So you can see the student has 2 services, and it's going to give their dates, just to have that information really handy for the parent. If I move one more over to the right, we're on the Documents tab. So this is going to be a place where any document that Troy's team ever would like to send to this parent will be living, regardless of whether it needs a response or not. So like we saw in the To-Do tab, some documents will need to be signed. Some documents are just going to be sent here as a repository for the parent to come back to whenever they'd like. So we can see there's a few documents that you probably saw from the to-do list, but there's also some documents that were not, because they didn't require a signature. One more over to the right is our case manager page. So this is just going to have the student's case manager name and contact information here. And then if I go all the way back over to the left to the My Info tab, this is going to be all the parents' information. So they can come in here and edit it if need be. They can update their phone number. They can update their address. There is that checkbox there, remove my access from EdPlanMD Connect. So sometimes, we've seen instances where one parent really doesn't want to be on the emails, and one parent, takes full responsibility for all the emails, whatever that situation may be. So we have that as an option as well. That is taking us through the parent portal. Do we want to take questions now, or do we want to move right into next demonstration? Yeah, go ahead.
If they want to get in and they haven't had, they just want to go back and revisit the page, but they haven't had a hyperlink that's going to give them an access code, how do they get in?
They can always reference that hyperlink they got for the first time is always good. So it's not like an expiring hyperlink. The access code will expire, obviously, but they can always go back to that email. Troy's team will also be able to send ad hoc requests. So say they're in the school and they're like, hey, I'm here, I need to sign this. Right now. Troy's team can go in there and send them an ad hoc email, and they can just do that right there.
The other awesome thing is if you've ever had to sign a document in the current system and you don't do it within 24 hours, what happens? It expires. It won't expire. You'll still be able to go in there for up to, is it a year?
I believe so.
Yes. So they're not going to expire. So
I just have one other. Will you guys be able to know when a parent opens an email or doesn't open an email or opens a document or not? Not sign it, but opens it.
Yeah, that's another great thing with the new reporting features is we can actually see when parents are accessing their Parent Connect portal.
You had a question, Drew?
Does PCG have any modules for the actual iterative editing of an IEP or 504? Okay, new goal, new objectives.
We do. Yeah, that's what we've been working on with Troy's team is the whole IEP process built out, takes them through step by step, goals, all the services, things like that. So that's what we're working on, customizing to, COMAR standards in Maryland, but also to, how Troy's team works. Same thing with 504, with all our behavior processes. So we're hoping, it's a really robust product that they're very excited about it.
So to add to that, our staff are going to be going through a 2-day professional learning at the beginning of the school year. So that's about 800 staff members before the beginning of school year we're going to touch to get an updated professional learning, not only on this system, but to merge how do you write a compliant first student first IEP and a 504. So that's why it's going to take 2 days, because it's not only learning the system, but we're going back to writing a compliance manual that will complement the new system. So they're giving us screenshots, but then we're also referencing, here's the FCPS process, here's references to IEP goals and everything. So we're super excited about that training, and then we're working with them to have about 30 super users or train the trainers. So they'll be learning that, and then we'll be pushing that out actually this week for our staff to start signing up for those trainings.
I just want to follow up. Sure. Across the country, there are services that allow parents, very involved parents, right, in IEPs, to kind of look at a cafeteria plan of different, goals and then the underlying objectives and so forth. I just wondered if there's any modules or anything that not only lets the case manager, but also the parents saying, you know what, I just think the speech therapy needs to focus on A, B, and C instead of X, Y, and Z. I just wondered if there's any kind of opportunity to kind of have that input in a facilitated way.
Sure. I think what most closely aligns with that is our progress track module, which we are going to show like a progress report. It's got, it has the goals and objectives broken out, and Troy's team will have the opportunity to log progress on each of those goals, each of those objectives. All that data will be wrapped up in the progress reports for parents. Troy, if there's anything else you would like to add to that, that's.
I think you're kind of like referencing maybe like goal and IEP objective banks, and we're
Right, that's right.
We've discussed that over the years as a district, and we're not quite there yet because we always want to make sure that goals are individualized. But there is something, to your point, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for service logging, and I think some of that our case managers will see. And over time, the great thing about going to a new system is that we get to get input from parents and from all stakeholders about what we want to change each year. So there are a lot of customization options about as we see like what would make IEPs even more, 100% better.
Right, and just to follow that, I mean, take a child who's severely dyslexic, right? There's a pretty clear sequence of progression from total illiteracy to phonetics to the stepping stones of literacy. So I'm just wondering, that's an opportunity to just have those. I mean, yes, each child is individualized, but the components for great goals, we're all repeating the same patterns here for a dyslexic child. And so, I think as a parent, it's an art and a science to write an effective goal and objective. It's one of the hardest parts of an IEP is actually picking a goal that's measurable and appropriate for the child at that moment. So anything we can reduce, so we can have a discussion of because I remember just taking so much time authoring the goals, submitting them to the team 5 days ahead, and just the exercise of doing that on an iterative basis is very hard for everybody. So anything we could do to facilitate the discussion of that's more effective than just picking between the choices as opposed to originally creating them. I just think would be really wonderful.
Yeah, I'm curious about AI and any discussions around AI. And we've definitely had some conversations experimenting, using AI to create IEP goals and things of that nature. And AI is here, and so I don't know where that is on a discussion roadmap or what we're thinking there.
Yeah, Katie and I actually had an opportunity to attend a training with Johns Hopkins, and so I do think over the next few years it's something that we as a district will provide guidance to our teachers. We've already provided broad overview, but then we'll probably even narrow that down to special ed guidance regarding AI, because exactly, it is the reality, and we want to make sure that they're using it appropriately, and so yeah, it's definitely been a conversation we've been having as leaders.
Okay, great. Claudia.
For example, will I be able to see prior to the adoption of the system what happened before that? The historical kind of the history of my son's IEPs?
So Troy's team will be uploading PDFs of all the data that is in their system now. So so that all that documentation will be able to be referenced when they go live.
Other questions? Did you have something?
Yeah, I just one on, you know, when the parent is given this notification that there's something there, if they have a question, and is there a means to ask that question or provide feedback or kind of reach back?
That will be dependent on what Troy and his team would prefer. You know, we have the case manager tab where they'll have the contact information there. There are other ways that some folks do it, but we try to customize it based on, you know, what's going to work best and what's going to most closely align with how things work currently. So, Andrew, I don't know if you want to speak
A lot
to
of
that.
times it would be, I'm assuming when that email goes out, it can say the case manager to contact the case manager. So I think a lot of times it's going to be reaching back out to the school directly so that it's reminding them to connect with the case manager who's going to be able to either upload another document, or for instance, you know, like when they fill out a notification and they say, I can't make this meeting, then they're connecting with the parent to figure out other dates and times before they send out a new invite. So a lot of times with the document exchange, it's going to go back to the case manager or somebody at the school level.
Yeah, sometimes platforms like this have built-in messaging capabilities, and so without that, you are kind of having to keep track of, you know, communications and content in your inbox, but also within the platform. So that's probably a parent education piece, just to clarify what to do in the system versus what needs to be done via email.
And just like, you know, for our staff, we're going to even have parent resources. They're going to do videos for us so that, because this is brand new for you all as well. And so when you all, you know, how do I go back to your point of like logging in? So we're going to have those resources to share.
Great. Sarah?
During the demo video and just now, seeing the different screens that you can step through as an educator, send information, as a parent to view information, is it the intent that during IEP meetings this could be visible on the screen in the conference room and we're live putting in and live clicking? Or is it the intent that that's happening on someone's screen here and then we're going to show the final? Like how does the interface work in the actual meeting when you're live working on things?
So I can add, and then Ed can. So really, what parents can access are documents that staff have sent to you. It's almost like an email.
Yeah.
You won't be able to make change. You won't be able to input or anything. You're either signing, you know, permission for things to move forward, or you're getting notifications that a document is available. Once the team finishes, you know, you have an IEP and that IEP is finished, then you would get notified that it's available to view in the parent portal. It won't be live. Now, to your point though, you can pull up they just like, you know, instead of doing a PowerPoint like we kind of do now, they could actually walk through the screens moving forward. This system obviously is more user-friendly, is like looking at those panels, as we call them in the system. So that is something that they could present the panels.
One of my schools does a PowerPoint and one of my schools uses the current system, which is really clunky for a parent, but this is very user-friendly in the IEP meeting to see the goals and how it all works together.
Yeah, the really nice thing is when you have those panels up, you can like press a button and it can collapse, or you can open it up. And so you're absolutely right. They could walk through the IEP, and that's something that when we do the training, we'll demonstrate how do you conduct an IEP meeting now with EdPlan.
So we can use EdPlan active in the meeting as we're working instead of.
And my experience has never had PowerPoint or pulling up the system. So if there could be some consistency in what that experience is and what parents should expect, that would be helpful.
And that's the great thing about the 2-day training that we're excited about, is recalibrating on those practices.
Okay, I think Jen had a question.
One more. I just wanted to follow up about the IEP goals. So I'm understanding is all of the goals will be self-generated by case manager teams. There will be no drop-down box. There'll be no choose from here. It will be all just typed in, self-generated, put in.
It's a larger conversation I've had for many years being in the special ed world. I think there's always like, you know, just there's caveats to both sides. But for now, you will still, The new system is nicer because it breaks it down into telling them like write this portion, make sure you have conditions and mastery. But right now there is
You
no
forgot
like
one out of the X trials, out of X trials. They don't
Yes.
remind you the person
Yes.
forgot.
The compliancy piece.
And so over time we'll be able to continue to improve, but there's definitely not a goal vein.
Claudia?
I have another question. Would the system have the capability of knowing just by logging in, like, how many total hours my son is receiving services? Because as of now, you have to go through the whole thing
So that is
to
some-
add that up.
That is something that we're very excited about, is that the new system, right now, a lot of you all see classroom instruction, and then you have to read the box about what that classroom instruction. Now there's gonna be drop downs for if they're getting reading, it's gonna say reading. And it's gonna say inside general education, and so it will actually specify, so you will, like Ed showed, it said math and reading, whereas our current system just says classroom instruction, and then you have to read that box. That will no longer be the case. So it will, to your point, it's gonna be much easier to see. They get reading, they get math, and they get co-teaching, and they also do science and social, So we're super excited about
I
that.
just want to piggyback off of her question. So as it reads now, at least for me, I'm able to see how much time my daughter spends in inclusion in reading and inclusion in math and in other services. Is that the time gonna go away? Because there I saw it just says 2 times a day, whereas right now I see, all right, she's getting 30 minutes of reading here and 30 minutes of math here.
It'll still have that specificity, either 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a week.
Got it.
You'll see that, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Drew.
Can you just clarify a little bit about the product life cycle itself? Is it a cloud service? And what is the typical among the states? How often do you update, or do the counties typically purchase, like MyChart for medical charting is typically like an annual update for the hospitals, and I just wonder what your life cycle looks like, because I'm sure there's a lot of innovation across the states and some great ideas that can be shared among the states, and I just wondered how your product evolves.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a cloud-based service, and we have 5 releases per year. That can be, I personally have looked at all of Troy's, grandest wishes and anything he could ever possibly want, and kind of mapped that out over the next few years of, I think this could be the structure of those 5 releases for the next few years or so. Obviously, we'll revisit that as we go. Then we also have, updates to our core product, like EdPlan itself, that sometimes there'll just be enhancements or improvements that we'll work in and talk with Troy to say, hey, is this something you're interested in? Our developers have got this feature, and sometimes it's like, yes, that's awesome, and sometimes they say no, and so a lot of these things are configurable. We can turn them on and off, and it's nice that it's built like that.
So can that roadmap be shared in terms of what you're looking to bring online at some point? And then
We're rolling it out, but yes, they have sent our wish list. Now the 3 of us and other leaders, we have to decide where we want to put that in that life cycle. The other thing that's nice about, because they were awarded our RFP, any state updates are naturally required to be built into it as well. So if we find out that there's a state update, we let PCG know about it, and they'll get it in the roadmap as well.
Okay, and then when there are enhancements, whether it's driven by the roadmap or a core product update, some platforms have a guided experience that lets you know what's changed when you've gone into the system. Is that something that your platform does?
We do have release notes, so we'll send release notes out as far in advance as possible, usually 2 to 4 weeks, because we want to get all the screenshots and get everything perfect so you can see exactly how it used to look and how it's going to look. We have done videos at certain times if it's a larger change. Sometimes if it's just a wording update or something, we won't do a video, but we have done videos as well at times.
Have you found that parents read release notes? I work in digital technology department for a 20,000 person organization, and nobody reads release notes.
Our release notes are more directed towards special education directors.
Okay, so we just need to make sure that that gets put in a consumable way for parents with enough leadway, right, to know what's changing.
When the parent portal, when it impacts you all for sure.
And to the point, I pitched consideration for a wish list that CCAT could collaborate on representing parents or even more broadly parents. It's very exciting, the product, to do a lot for both the case managers and the parents, because this is obviously the bread and butter of what a lot of parents focus on for their kids. So I think the analogy being April, TurboTax, right? Really confusing 1094, all these tax forms, and you go through this interview, and you extract the experience away from the complicated tax forms to a nice interface. So to the discussion here about what could be the experience for future IEP meetings, it would be great to go through guided interfaces that are very plain language, that then take all of those interview questions and populate the forms in a COMAR permissible way, but then it's a much more user-friendly, intuitive, like I think you demonstrated, the services and the summaries and then language, and I think that would be very exciting.
We did have Tara, who was part of the RFP process, so CCAC did have representation through that process, and I would love to continue. I am curious how or when or at what point there will be that parent feedback loop that you mentioned, and we'd love to help promote that, of course, if we know when you're looking to do that.
Just one quick question regarding parent access. I love that the forms are so easily translated into other languages. Are they also available as speech, like text-to-speech or verbally for parents who have lower literacy rates or who have visual impairments? It's a lot of text.
As far as built in the system, not at this time. It's something that's come up actually very recently. But we do, like at this point, we recommend like the workaround of like some kind of browser add-on or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is something that's on our core roadmap.
Do you expect to list the IEP team in here beyond just the case manager? Because some of us have like 5 or 6 different folks that we work with within our IEP team. That would be helpful just to have all of that contact information in one place.
Yeah, all the contact information will not be here. The IEP team, however, will be listed on the IEP documents and all the documents that the parent can review. Yeah,
those people have changed on my quarterly progress updates. They're different. Sometimes people are added, sometimes people are not. So it's not a reliable. It's a data entry, right? So it's prone to human error. It would be great just to have all of that in one place.
Do you have the ability to save your documents to your own computer from the system?
Yeah, you can.
Working with an advocate or something like that, so then you could forward your own document to someone else to look at this document for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Any of the documents that you're seeing here can be, downloaded, saved as PDFs or printed.
Sure.
And just for clarity, who has access to it other than parents, the case manager? I'm assuming Frederick County, obviously Frederick County Public School, administration-wise. Who exactly has access to it?
The system or just specific documents or?
The system.
The parent portal.
Yeah.
This is just.
IEP specifically is what I'm thinking about.
Okay. Yeah. The portal is just for parents and guardians, like anyone who's from the student information system denoted as a legal guardian of the student. As far as the system and all the documents, that's on a permission basis based on the staff members at CPS. So, Troy and myself and our team are going to be working through what members of his staff should get certain levels of access to make sure that everyone has access to what they need, but no more than that, basically.
I assume it's mobile friendly?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Is the cloud hosting US based, FedRAMPed?
Yes, I believe.
Is there more to the demo, or is that?
Is the progress?
Sure, we'll take a look at your progress report.
Thank you for indulging all of our questions.
We're a robust group.
I used to be a teacher. I'm very okay with questions. Okay. Bigger. All right, so here is an example progress report. You can see this is the same student we were using on the parent portal, Larissa Matthews. And this is just an example of her quarter 4 progress report. So at the top, you'll have all the student demographic information, and then the progress report codes. So it's going to explain how to interpret all the data that's below this. You're going to see any or all of the student's goals. The student just has one goal, and that is a math goal. So you can see the annual goal listed there. And to the point that we were just talking about, it's broken out, like Troy said, given the structure of the goal, the user was prompted to write in this format in the system. And then you can see their progress on the goal throughout the year. This IEP started during quarter 4, so we're just seeing that the progress was only reported in quarter 4, but had their IEP started earlier in the year, you would see how the goal was reported throughout the entire year, each quarter. And then it's going to show any objectives underneath that. So this goal has one objective. You're going to see their current percentage. So one of our modules is, as I mentioned, it's progress track. So it's where the staff will be able to go in and log this student's current progress on every goal and every objective. And they can give them, a score, and we could get into a very long demo of progress track. I don't think we're quite going to do that tonight, but anyway, so that's they're going to show the current percentage of the current score, and then all of the data from progress track is going to be displayed on a graph. So the parent, guardian, or whoever's viewing the progress report is going to be able to see that data plotted out. We have the goal target line for the student was 80%. So you can see our trajectory line from the first data point going up to 80%. It's just kind of showing where we should be along as we're making progress. And then all those data points with a connecting line is showing trends of where is it going? Is it going up or down? I decided that Larissa wasn't feeling too good one day, and so she had 2 scores that dropped back down, and then she felt good the next day and came back up. So we're seeing that. And then the dotted lines are showing for this particular student, because the user that I was impersonating when I was making this progress report was a service provider. So they were the person who provided those services. So if that particular person is printing out the progress report, their services are going to be shown with those dotted lines. If you're generally just printing a progress report out for general use, those will not be there. That might be more information than you need, but there you have it now.
So question, Ed.
Sure, yeah.
So this reporting capability it's looking at the goals and objectives of a specific IEP.
Yes.
Do you have reports for standardized testing, like Woodcock-Johnson, Dibbles, or some of the multiple year-over-year standardized testing?
As far as standardized testing, typical standardized testing, you mean not evaluating a student for a disability, I assume?
So literacy. So if you have a standardized test for literacy for phonology, and you take you do that test in year 1, and you manually enter phonology standardized test results A, B, and C, and then you do it year over year, you have a report to kind of facilitate.
So being that this is primarily like a special education platform, that would be data that we wouldn't consider, we wouldn't be considered the source of record for that data. The data would be stored in the student information system primarily. So there have been instances, I've worked with divisions where we import that data from the student information system and then we can house it, but again, we're not really the source of record for it. So typically, the assessments that we are focused on here are what you see here, and then also, if we're giving a student assessment to evaluate them for a disability. So I guess long answer is not really. It can be done, but it's not really our primary function.
It would be pretty great if you could integrate it.
Yeah.
Because this is one snapshot of the data, but it's always against the benchmarks that you're looking at the student at grade level. So.
And that data will be it'll be attached and rolled into any report, any IEP, any evaluation. It can be attached and you can write notes about it. But as far as having those numerical entries saved in a database, in our database, it's just not our primary function.
It is a good point about having a holistic view as you're trying to figure out progress towards goals. And if you're only looking at certain slices that are going to influence the progression, you're not getting the whole picture.
Yeah. And when you know, Troy's team has those assessments and they can upload that information will be in the portal for parents to view. It can be attached to an IEP or an eligibility so that when that IEP or eligibility is printed, it's going to show just right after that. You know, it's going to print with that whole document. So yeah, I hear your point. Just trying to offer this is everything we do at this point too.
Yeah, I mean, I just would think that the customer base would actually want that integration, just because the standardized test, it's the individual against the grade level performance. So it's a comparison of those two data sets. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate the comment. That's helpful. And then the last piece of this progress report is just a table of all of the progress logs. So we're just seeing, it's going to start, you know, chronologically from the top, and you know how Larissa started on that goal, and then as time went on, all the scores.
Those percentages in that last column, are those percentages?
Yes, those are percentages. Yeah. Yeah.
So say my child has a speech goal and we're working on Vocalic R. So every time they meet and the data is put in on how many trials they're doing, how successful they are, when I get a progress report now, it'll show me every encounter and the data that was entered at every encounter, like this?
Not right now. So we are making decisions as a leadership team about our expectations for progress monitoring, because there's progress reports and then there's progress track. Progress track could allow you to, exactly what Ed is showing you, could allow every service provider to get there. We have to first launch the system and really decide what are the expectations or requirements that we will place upon all of our staff the first year. This is something where we want to get to. I think the three of us, we really believe in this, but there's also other ways in which you can collect your data and you can end up providing a progress report under COMAR and IDA. So we just have to balance the workload the first year of what's appropriate for our staff.
Sure. The idea of being able to, I've never had a progress report that showed me data. It just showed me outcomes.
Yeah, and that's where we just...
So this would be like amazeballs instead of me going, hey, can you send me my data? And I get like a scan of a paper sheet where click, 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 click during.
Well, and our hope is that we really can get to a place where we help them understand that this is so much more functional, because it's, like you just said, Tara, like this is easier for you to visually see that your child's on track versus reading a 3-page paragraph anecdotal report.
Yeah, versus getting a piece of paper with check marks on it.
You want both, the qualitative and the quantitative, right?
And you can do both in here.
I mean, to some degree. There's things that you can't measure in numbers.
For comments, for sure.
Yeah.
They'll still be able to, instead of just like putting in progress, they'll be able to write notes as well. But our hope is really we do get to a place, just like when you get a report card, you get grades. We really want to get to a place that this progress track is like you're getting a graph of the weekly progress monitoring that's occurring for these goals and objectives.
And it allows service providers, like if I was with Jamie doing speech and we were working on that R, I could click each time it happens or doesn't happen instead of doing this, correct? And then it funnels into my reporting system for Medicaid and all that stuff too.
A lot of them could have the computer open while they're doing their sessions.
Yeah, so Joanna and then Jen?
So just what she's saying, this is the goal that we're going towards, but the original, maybe the time that we're gonna do this, it's not gonna be that because the teachers need time to learn the process. This is kind of where we're gonna go. Is that understanding?
Yes, ma'am. No matter what, they'll get the progress report that Ed showed. We are determining as a team, what are we saying the first year? Like, you must use progress track? No matter what, you always have to get a progress report as a parent. You have to receive that. Every time a report card goes out, you must get a progress report. Now, how the data is interpreted is where we want to get to. We want to get to those graphs. That might just not be the case the first year.
Just expect it like, oh, we're gonna get there.
That is our goal. Because it ultimately will make teachers' lives easier as well.
Oh, yeah.
Jen?
So, just touch on when you brought up notes. So will we be able to access like log notes, or parents can go in and say, on this lesson, they worked on this Valentine concept, or we got through, step 4 of lesson 96. Like, will there be like notes like that a parent could access?
So the service logs will be able to be accessed, but I do want to provide clarification is that anything that a staff member does in the system, they have to send to you. So you can't just log in and access it. They have to press the button to send it to the parent portal. But if they do service logs and they put that note in there, that is an educational record and you would have a right to access that.
Somewhere for a parent to access.
Correct. We set it up when we built out the requirements with them is that we want even things that they upload, we want you all to be able to access so that it is a one-stop shop and you don't have to go to your email for this or go for this. You can be notified that there's been something put in the portal and you can access it.
So you enter service logs and you could notify me. I've just uploaded service logs for the last 2 weeks. If you want to take a look at what we've been doing, I get that through the portal, I log on, and it's in my information I can read my document.
Because there won't be any action for you to take, but you'll be notified there's a document waiting.
So I won't have to request data the week or two before a meeting and cross my fingers and put that burden. It would be somewhere it would easily generated.
So for case managers or whoever it makes the most sense, are there reminders of deadlines if they miss a deadline? Is that a report that you have then you can audit and see where there are trends with particular case managers that aren't necessarily staying compliant?
Yeah, and that's actually something they didn't get to show, but our staff have a dashboard when they log in. Unlike our current system doesn't have a dashboard. When they log in, they actually will see they have this many students on their caseload, they have this many upcoming IEPs, right there. They'll actually get to see, are they in compliance? That one's 50-50, so that person has some work to do.
They need some coaching.
There will be email reminders as well, and so that's great. Also, when a caseload gets assigned to them, they'll get notified.
Okay, wonderful.
Will this system, will the parent portal solicit the parent input for each year we have the parent input for the annual review of an IEP? And there's variations that I've seen over the years of how that's solicited and how it's received. And this type of system is an exciting opportunity to standardize that and maybe just streamline that. Wondered if there's...
I think that could be a potential future upgrade, but right now it's my understanding that you can't necessarily send communication back on the portal beyond the signing a document or notifying them that you're going to attend the meeting, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
If it was a link that then took them to the parent involvement survey, an outside window, is that a way of thinking of it, maybe?
Yeah, potentially, if you upload a document and you get notification through the portal that there's a document that you need to view, and in that document there's a link.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if this question is appropriate for now or for when, during staff training, but I was just noticing there aren't selections for not yet introduced or newly introduced or whatever.
Good. That's a good question. So everything you're seeing is not, we have made over 1,200 pages worth of changes that their team is actually executing. So you're just seeing a demo site. And so we did make sure that a lot of the language that we are used to as educators here in Frederick County are going to carry over. So you're not going to have to learn new terminology. So we made sure a lot of that. So yeah, you're just seeing a demo right now. So it's not perfect.
I have a follow-up to Drew's question. If as a parent, I like to, when I'm able to, type up ahead of time what my parent input is, and then I often right now, in the meeting, click the button and send it over to whoever the recorder is for the meeting, and they can copy it and paste it. I could still do that. I could send it to Troy if he's the person doing all of that work during the meeting, and they could copy and paste it directly into the system.
We're good.
Reached our time. more than we planned. Okay. All right.
So thank you so much, everyone, for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much. This has been very helpful.
Appreciate it.
We will definitely share this out through our communications subcommittee on Facebook and so forth to let folks know if they wanted to get caught up on what's coming. that they can do that. All right. So I think we are ready to, and again, we do not have a quorum, so we will have to table any potential motions. But is there anything from Budget Subcommittee that you want to share?
Only that we have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's actually let you get back to your chair, and then we'll go with Nancy. I got lost in my agenda, I apologize. Board Member Allen.
I don't have anything to share.
Okay.
You, as a chair, had mentioned about the budget, and that was really just that small little bit that I was going to chat about. So, and just to remind that tomorrow night, Wednesday. Today's Monday, right? Wednesday, 6:30 to 8. I'm sorry. It's for the,
I have it at 6, but that doesn't
yeah, but at 6 it is. It's probably 6 to 8
6
or
to 8, I think
6:30.
it is. I think it's just like a board meeting.
It's not a board meeting. It actually is just a public hearing for the budget.
For the budget,
Is
yeah.
what it is, yeah, but I know what you're saying time-wise. It was. Yes, so it'll be an opportunity to be heard.
Sounds good.
And there is no sign up. So it's all, you come in the door,
Then you sign
in, yeah.
Laura, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question for Board Member Allen. I'd like to know what the follow-up was with regards to our concerns and communication regarding the 2 minutes change of public comment, if that's a reasonable question to ask at this time.
It is. And I apologize because I had received the feedback. I thought I sent that to you guys, but possibly I did not. So there was a decision that was made that it was going to be across the board. And it was specific at first, as we had talked about, to the policy committee meeting time period. And specifically addressing what they knew would be controversial issues that were going to be discussed or policies that were going to be discussed. And they felt that, and the response was basically that they felt that it was applicable to all committees, and so it got applied universally.
Yes.
It's not that, and I pushed back and I said, well, can committees make their own decisions about how they're going to manage public comment? And I think there is some wiggle room there, but there's also an opportunity for me as a board member to go and have that policy revisited again.
Okay. Yeah, we do, I do think we want to, with the feedback that we shared at the last meeting, see if there's something that we will look in the next school year to have these hybrid meetings to make them more accessible, given the population that we serve, and that policy constrains us to in-person sign up for any public comment.
True.
And,
Okay.
we saw at our last meeting the 2-minute clock run out very quickly.
Yes.
And
The 3-minute clock
if there
runs out.
could be something,
Okay.
similar to what the board does itself, which is a 3-minute time box. And if you'd like, we could certainly share an email with some
Absolutely.
requests, if that's
Yeah.
helpful. We can
Yes.
send that along, okay?
Please do.
We will do that, okay.
Yeah. But you were also, you just mentioned hybrid. So is this something that you're already working on with staff to have that set up, or is it something that the committee is going to do?
We mentioned implementing that for the next school year. We just shared our meeting dates. We have not talked about what that would mean logistically, but in the technical advisory bulletin that the state provides, it does ask for us to provide a virtual offering.
Okay.
And we haven't done that to this point. I think maybe during COVID, and then there were some, like last year, there was 1 or 2, before I became a chair, there was a virtual meeting.
We tried to implement hybrid in the past.
Yes, it's very, yes, anyway, I'll
Okay.
reserve my editorial comments, but
Okay.
I do think.
Would you include that in
Yes.
the email too?
Sure thing.
Okay, great.
Yep. Okay, Joanna?
Yes, feedback also included in situations where someone may have like a speech something that may prolong their comments, or even an interpreter, which means that there'll be more words, like double words. So then whatever one more person is saying, then you still have to, does it include that into consideration when they're making that decision?
You know, I was just gonna say, I don't know if that was part of their discussion, honestly. I don't feel like it was, and, you know, when we talked about it, you know, in the board, but that's a really good point about that, you know. And then I think that's where we as a committee can, you know, have those allowances, you know. We know that. There are accommodations, and if somebody needs an accommodation, I don't know why we wouldn't offer that accommodation to them.
Maybe that's implied,
just
I
have
don't
to
know.
ask, I
but-
believe.
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll include that as a third
Yeah, but that's a great point, though.
observation. Okay. All right, let's move on to our updates from our directors of special education, Keller and Buckley.
So just, we talked a little bit about the parent involvement survey. We are hovering, depending on if you're preschool or school age, between 7% and 9% in regards to completion. So anything that you guys can do to help advertise that, to get us feedback, would be greatly appreciated. We do send out system-wide emails, so that's something that you should have seen come through last week. We have that done. I think that's our second one that we've sent currently. It is posted on social media. There's a banner on our website. So there's lots of different avenues. You guys have helped us provide opportunities for that as well. But any opportunity would be fantastic. And then there's a link to the QR code as well. We did a lot of talk tonight about the IEP system update, but it is super exciting, and hopefully just seeing it gives you guys a glimpse into the future and what you can expect. And then again, kind of knowing that the roadmap is going to continue over years, because that's kind of the best practice in regards to implementing something new. ESY is up and running, as it always is. Honestly, it never really stops, but we will be running that this summer. So the date should be communicated with families at this moment. We're starting the hiring process. We have the site locations identified. And we have coverage for those for admin who are going to be out of the buildings during those times. So a lot of work in regards to ESY, because it's already almost May. So before we know it, we're going to be into that July summer of ESY. There's links there to the presentations that we've recently done, doing a lot of work on our continuum, so just being able to explain and articulate where we are in our school-based continuum, and then where we are in our continuum outside of the school, and for our specialized programs and other resources. Staffing updates are always provided to the board, and then we're always looking at our recommendations and where we are with that. For CCAC, we do maintain the document that's linked below. CCAC said we did, so then if anybody has any questions about where we are in the progress of CCAC goals, you can access that document at any time.
Okay, any questions? Laura?
I'm actually asking a budget question. Clarification of the board meeting on April 23rd regarding the special education budget, which was entitled Valued Programs Beyond the Blueprint, Excess Expense Equals Expenses Minus Revenues, Excess Special Education Expense, $71.9 million. Isn't Pillar 4 or 5 more resources for students to be successful significantly, and I quote, increased funding for special education to improve outcomes, end quote, in specific target areas such as increased resources for students, improved teacher supports, greater access to services, reduced achievement gaps, and increased accountability, to name a few. Why is this a problem? Or is it listed, why is it listed as a valued program beyond the blueprint when it is in the blueprint?
What it was trying to do was to kind of like call out, because the blueprint doesn't specifically say anything in particular, right? It's kind of like that general statement that you just read. It's very much saying like all of these different things. And so it was to call out, and it wasn't a problem. I think it was just to really highlight really what FCPS does invest in our special education. So I think it was more to call out that this is a valued piece of how we support our students. And so I hear what you're saying though. It very much is connected to Blueprint and Pillar 4 specifically. But it's not necessarily like pre-K is called out and with exactly the funds, and as well dual enrollment, and some of those other particular pieces, so that it's much more, it's not necessarily prescribed.
Well, they had to go back and sort of bring in the focus of special education, right, after the fact. And so,
I think the special education work group from the state has been, really working on their recommendations, and I think that's kind of what we're really waiting to find out, like where do they land with their recommendations, and that'll be the piece that we will connect as we continue to work forward.
I actually got this off of AIB where it said, Pillar 4, more resources for students to be successful. The quote is significantly increased funding for special education to improve outcomes. So they did specifically cite special education with the description.
Oh yeah, I agree with you with that.
But I'll probably have to take this out of the meeting, but I'm not quite registering where the 71.9 million, what the breakdown is for that.
Staffing is certainly a part of it. So all of our special education teachers, our SEIAs, that really is a big chunk of the FCPS budget in general. So that's a big chunk of it.
It's something certainly, I could ask for, to get the details and the breakdown.
Yes,
for
please.
what was placed out there. And yeah, I mean, there are going to be probably lots of questions that are submitted to finance, to really understand details around those budget items. Not just the ones that were mentioned at the budget meeting, but there are other departments too, that there are questions around details, so.
okay, so we'll look for your help to get budget detail on the 71.9 million, is that what the number was?
71.9.
Okay. Okay. Any other, go ahead, Jen.
I do. With the vacancies, we just get the number of vacancies. Is there a way to find out like where they are? Is it highly more in one feeder pattern than another? Is it like does one school have more than other schools? Just curious about the vacancies.
It's honestly constantly changing, which is like why I think we get the numbers so often, whether a teacher takes a leave of absence or FMLA. So we do track to see where the schools are who have the vacancies and have it color coded so that we can help provide support and offer candidates to those schools depending on the situation. So we do have that. Jen and I just actually met this morning and looked at next year's staffing and where we're sitting in regards to vacancies for that information. We just went through internal transfers. So we're moving people around that way, and each month that we do that, then it creates a new pocket to kind of look at in regards to.
Do you notice one program more than others, one population more than others? Schools?
Expressions and pyramids tend to be our hardest ones to fill. But I mean, honestly, we've been in a good, beginning of the year gets scary, and then we get to a better place. But for the most part, for instance, we've been very lucky with our SLPs to be at a 100% fill rate. We're not always there. Even our CIAs, those have been great. But over the years, that typically is the elementary and specialized programs are the two main areas that hit us the most, I would say. Now, it is easier to become certified in elementary, so just let your folks know. But no, the good thing is our staff like to stick around at high schools. So our high school numbers are not as high, but at the same time, it's to some degree we have more elementary schools, so yeah.
Other questions? Okay, thank you for those updates. All right, Partners for Success.
We'll try to be on the quicker side. I'll have Grace just share our upcoming events, and then I'll share just kind of some of our next year plans.
So Wednesday, April 30th, we're attending Rock Creek Schools Game Night. So we're just gonna kind of share a little bit about our position and your families who join. We have 2 remaining support groups. We have an evening support group Tuesday, May 6th, and a morning support group Thursday, May 8th. And then we kind of go through those over the summer just because we get very low attendance. families are away for this week and start back up in the fall. Wednesday, May 7th, we have a caregiver event. Thursday, May 8th, we have our Chili's dinner event, which we've done several of those before. And then Friday, May 9th, we have a sensory-friendly train ride at the Walkersville train station. All of the slots for all of these events have been filled, so we're really excited.
And then just in preparation of summer, as I know CCAC as well is applying for going through the grant application. We are as well finishing up on the grant application for next year. And our focus for the summer is to pre-plan all of our events for the year. And so we would like to base each month kind of with a topic or a theme and then have those events, workshops, just kind of pre-planned for each of those months so that we can have over summer everything already kind of pre-prepared to roll out and have well enough preparation for people to be aware of what's going to be coming up. So that's part of our planning. We as well are going to be planning a lot with Carly Parsons, who she is one of CPS's teacher specialists for special education, and we're going to work with her on doing IEP events. The word I'm looking for is just kind of like a series of IEP events, and each will hopefully take different parts of the IEP and break it down for families. And we are hoping to provide those in person for specific feeder patterns and hold them at the elementary schools within those feeder patterns. So we'll be planning that over the summer as well. And so that's a big focus that we'll have. And then we will be planning a speaker event as well. But as we're nearing the end of this fiscal school year, it will most likely be at the beginning of the year to have our event to be able to spend that chunk of money from this last school year for just the way that the grants are being dealt with at this time. So I think that's really all of our updates. I don't know if anyone has any questions or.
Okay, thank you. Brooke Schmidt, our CSAC representative here locally, is not here this evening, sends her regrets, but as a reminder, we do have the joint CSAC-CCAC member meeting, so that's May 14th. It is on the CCAC calendar, and anyone who is a CCAC member is encouraged to attend. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, it's a really great way to get a pulse on what other counties are up to and what the state is up to as well. We don't yet know what the agenda will cover, but Brooke did share that there would be information on processes and procedures and templates and those kinds of things. Is there something more, Laura?
Yes, register before May 1st.
Okay. Okay, so moving on. So any
The budget, we have left the 447 from this current grant cycle. Our wonderful events committee is working on spending before September 30th. We have submitted the, I think I said last week, so we have submitted the estimated draft into for the LAF grant for our next year, which hopefully we don't have to make too many amendments. We can get one. How about that? That's all we get. We're going to decide what we're spending it on definitely by the time, hopefully, retreat.
We did have a
We'll
good
finalize
meeting
it.
with our budget partners, Jessica and Jessica, and we did some forecasting in terms of what categories we might be spending in and how much we might be spending, and
Laura,
really, focusing on leveling up our resource committee, our resource fair communication, signage and different things, so refreshing a lot of the resource fair
communication needs to spend
Marketing,
that's
yes.
allotted for, that has to be done before. And then, I'm sorry, Laura, I'll send you a little snippet of the, blue, so you can just link it to in the notes.
Okay, membership update. I think I covered that in the opening. Did you have something else?
Yeah, we met on April 7th, began vetting applicants using scoring rubric. 2 applicants since April 7th, which is the time that we met and started assessing, and read out, I could read out the broken down numbers of the open positions and numbers of applicants if you'd like. Thank you.
We've covered that before. All right, events subcommittee.
Well, we had, in our last meeting, talked about spending some money that's still available on some sort of collaboration with Partners for Success, kind of pooling some money. And I think that would need to be voted on, right? So, before that.
So we may be sending around a motion for an electronic vote, which our bylaws does allow for in certain situations, and given the proximity of by when we have to spend the money, I feel like that's a good use of that bylaw provision, so we'll get back to that. We don't have any, do we have any communication subcommittee member updates? No updates? Okay. I do know that Merritt took a look at the social media calendar and the SOP and is helping to kind of keep some of the social media posting going. Anything from student voices?
So we're gonna try to, because we're all graduating in May, so we're gonna try to get a form out or something. Maybe at least talk to some teachers about CCAC exists, if other kids are interested for the next year. Get some members this year.
Great. And bylaws are coming to your inbox sometime soon. You will have 20. We need to get these provisions to you 20 days before the vote, which we'll table at the last meeting of this year, and then we will have a little bit of time for anybody that is going to be at the retreat to talk through any of those in more detail if needed. All right. Anything anybody wants to share this evening as part of our membership voices section of the agenda? Go ahead, Laura.
I'd just like to bring to your attention, after a rocky legislature, disability agencies, self-directed care may still face budget challenges despite lengthy budget negotiations. This was published in Maryland Matters on April 26th. Disability agencies are still under fire budgetary-wise. This is not over what was discussed and happened prior that CCAC has written advocacy letters for. We're still in trouble, folks. And I would like to propose that perhaps we can, in a future meeting when we have a quorum to vote, to follow up on this matter. And I would also like to add to Board Member Allen's April 30th Board of Ed budget meeting. There will also be a County Council FCPS budget meeting on April 30th. And just my opinion, I believe it would behoove a member of CCAC to attend one of these meetings so that we can show our support for special education, wear your shirts. I will be there for April 30th here, but I'll be doing a different advocacy. I did attend the County Council's meeting last week, and there was a very tiny amount of people there, and there was no one representing special education. It was not even brought up as part of the discussion. So just food for thought.
Is it at the same time?
Yes.
Any other member voices? Parents, community members, students, staff? Okay. Public comment. So we have one person here for public comment. Kara? Yep.
Can't stay away.
Delighted to have you. Come right up. We do have a 2-minute.
I've been editing to try to stick within.
Okay.
And I've never been on the side, which is kind of weird. Okay. All right, where's my clock? I'm just kidding. So I wrote it down so I keep it straight. But thank you guys really for all that you do. I do know what a time commitment it is, and all that you impact, so much more than you see in the short term, year to year. As a member for almost 8 years, I never realized that my daughter was paying attention to all of those Monday nights away until she asked her school therapist last week if she could write a letter to address a situation that I'm going to discuss that her peers and her found unfair, which was amazing. So parents, your children are watching you and you truly have no idea how much they're taking in. Also, when I suggested that the students might want to send their letters directly to CCAC, one student shared that he was shocked that others were willing to fight this and was really interested to hear about all that you do, so I thought that was really important to share. My daughter attends Pyramid program at Newmarket Middle School, where she's thrived socially, and academically, and emotionally this past year. Deeply grateful for the outstanding staff there and believe that Newmarket's program could serve as a model across the county. I've also sent a more formal email directly to CCAC and the Board of Ed with the student letters that were created and then additional details. And while the specific issue at my daughter's school, I believe, has been addressed, I want to prevent similar challenges elsewhere, as it's not really unique to one school or program. Many students with significant anxiety or other disability-related challenges find the cafeteria environment completely overwhelming. Many schools have also successfully adapted by creating supportive spaces where these students feel comfortable eating. Recently, Newmarket was directed by FCPS Food and Nutrition Services to stop allowing staff to pick up lunches for students. And although my daughter usually brings lunch from home, some of her friends, some facing greater challenges, opted to skip meals rather than navigate an overwhelming cafeteria. The previous system that they had in place where students would order and sign for lunches in the classroom fostered their independence, life skills, and also respected their student needs. It also maximized their learning time within the classroom. And while I understand this change is tied to federal and state guidelines, it's critical that FCPS plan for exceptions when policies affect students with disabilities. Sudden changes without transition or support can conflict with their own, FCPS's own equity goals. I'm respectfully suggesting that the policy committee review new federal, state, FCPS mandates with input from the special education department to identify potential impacts before implementation.
That is your 2 minutes. Thank you so much. And you did send us that via email.
I did. It was a little bit more extensive, but same thing.
Yes,
And
okay,
if you could
that's great.
share the letters that the
Absolutely.
students sent with everybody, I thought they were sweet.
Yes.
They worked really hard on them last week, from my understanding. I wasn't involved. I didn't tell my daughter I was going to speak at the after they did that part of it.
Yeah.
And I know that Troy has been involved and has helped before I even contacted. So it was being worked on, but I think it's more systemic, which is why I brought it to you guys.
Okay, well, we thank you for your testimony, and we will circulate that with committee members. Thank you. All right, and I believe that concludes our agenda for this evening. We have Katie Kober, who will be joining us at our next meeting, which will be on May 19th from 6 to 8 here, same time, same place. She is an adjunct professor at FCC and owner of Amber Hill. She's going to be talking to us about cerebral palsy. And let's see, what time do I have? 7:43. And with that, I believe we are adjourned for the evening.
Vote on adjournment.
You technically, I don't think you technically
We have a
need,
quorum, too.
but so thanks everyone. Really appreciate your time.